One of the coming crises in South Carolina and probably in America is the question of energy. Are we going to have enough energy? Can we have an affordable energy source? I'm a firm believer that the economic cycle that we're in, the downward turn, was triggered when the price of gasoline started going up and sucking out of the economy what I call discretionary disposable income. The result is that you don't have the demand out there, and as the demand falls, so the economy falls. And people are spending more on basics like filling up the gas tank. Well, on the other side of this equation is your electric rates. The federal government's talking about a carbon tax. For us in South Carolina, about 60% of our electricity is based on coal-fired plants and gas-fired plants. The result is we have a large carbon footprint. If they tax that footprint, it's going to raise your electric rates. It could raise them as high as around 32%. Now couple that with a tax that takes the money out of the state and treats us like other states. What do I mean by that? It's this. They say, well, you've got this carbon footprint and you need to reduce it and you need to go to renewable energies. Well, the technology on solar is not there with the type of climate we have to get us to the point that renewables can sufficiently reduce our carbon footprint and meet the federal goals of about, which we think will be around 25% of our electric power generation. In the meantime, we need to be looking, how do we move more nuclear? Because nuclear doesn't create a larger carbon footprint. But it takes at least 10 years in permitting and construction, and they're very expensive. Well, if we get taxed on this footprint and money flows out, then you ought to be able to understand what's going to happen. What they're going to do is they're going to pass that tax on to you in the form of higher electric rates. In terms of conservation, it'll give us about a 20% additional capacity, but in renewables, we'll only pick up about a 3% capacity. The result is we've got to have some form of conventional power to get us to these nuclear plants that we need. If we don't, South Carolina faces brownouts and blackouts, and that's just the reality. I don't want to see us have to build any more conventional plants just like anybody else. I would prefer that we can get to clean nuclear plants. But the hard cold facts are there's a gap to get to those nuclear plants. And so we got to figure out how to get there and do it the cleanest way possible. But if this economy is to recover, you got to have plenty of electric power, and it's got to be affordable. If electric rates go up, it's going to suck the disposable income back out of the economy, and we're going to have a further dip in an economic cycle. To make the transfer to a conservation-oriented economy, to have an economically expanding economy, we got to deal with the energy issue. And I tell you, it's one of the greatest crises because it will affect the standard of living of everybody out there who lives in South Carolina and beyond the limits of the state. And some people just do not understand that we're going to run out of power if we don't start taking steps in alternative energy and in conservation and in bridging the gap till we can bring the nuclear plants online.